Throughout this series, I have been trying to explain two fundamentally different ways of looking at our world. One characteristic predominantly of the West and the other of the East. And these might be called, respectively, the way of description as opposed to the way of seeing. The way, in other words, of understanding things in words or in terms, contrasted with the way of understanding through looking and seeing a field or a subject totally all at once. Or you might call these the linear view, strung out in a line, or the total view, seeing all at once, or the serial view on the one hand, as contrasted with the simultaneous view on the other. Now, in classical Western science, we have depended largely on this serial or analytic view, which understands the world by translating it into ideas, into words, or into, say, even series of numbers. The basic feature of it being that things are understood in a step-by-step way in sequence. And insofar as we constantly look at nature in that way, we tend to think of nature as something constructed, something, in other words, made or put together as we ourselves make and put things together through a series of steps. And perhaps this gives us the feeling that if we understood nature sufficiently, if we understood in full detail all the steps which go to the making of our universe, we could ourselves make it. Now, it's here, you see, that we get a very fundamental contrast between East and West, and especially through Chinese and Japanese ideas of the formation of nature. Because for them, it seems extremely odd to think of nature as being constructed or made by a sort of step-by-step procedure. Their feeling is rather that the world and its forms are not so much constructed as grown. And one of the most important keys to an understanding of Far Eastern thought is to see the difference between a view of a constructed world and a grown world. Now, to give a sort of crazy illustration of this, supposing I construct something, for example, an artificial flower. And you know, when you get instructions how to do this, and you buy a book of do-it-yourself artificial flowers, you get a step-by-step procedure which tells you what to do. Step one, take a piece of wire with a black button and fix it to the end. Step two, take the stamens, previously cut out, and fix it to the button. Next step, insert a disc of sticky material, push the wire through the middle, and then affix the petals. Here they go, and notice, as I put them on, I take them from outside and around me, things that are bits, and I bring these bits together to make the flower, the construction, or whatever form it is that I'm intending to create. And so from going around to the center, from getting something that was previously pieces and bringing it all together, I get my flower. But now, watch how an actual flower grows. How it starts, as it were, from the center. And it unfolds itself, not bit by bit, but all the parts of the flower exfoliating together from the center outwards, in contrast to the making process which goes from the outside inwards. From a situation where the parts are originally all apart, all in bits, and then assembled. Contrasting with a situation where you have some simple beginning, like a seed or a bud, and as it expands, it constellates or forms its own parts from within itself. And this is the fundamental process of natural growth. It's in the same way that the human baby is formed within the womb. It's in the same way that if you watch crystals under a microscope forming in a solution, you will notice the whole area of the crystal, the whole structure of the crystal coming into being all together at once, and you will not see a kind of bit-by-bit assemblage which we use when we make machines or make houses or make tools. Even when we carve a block of wood, although the block of wood is not originally a lot of distinct parts, nevertheless we work upon it from the outside towards the inside, whereas all processes of growth go from the inside to the outside. Now, in our current scientific way of thinking in the West, this kind of growth, this kind of formation, is always talked about in terms of what we call field theory, fields of thought. And I suppose one of the most striking exhibitions of what a field is can be seen in looking at the formation of magnetic lines of thought in iron filings, as when we take filings that are not magnetized, just thrown chaotically over an area, and then with the magnets underneath, notice that all the filings form together into a pattern, the whole area moving together, every single part of it simultaneously, into its shape. And that shows us the whole nature of a field of thought.